Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be starting a series on pro-Israel versus anti-Israel candidates going up against each other in the 2028 presidential election. And now we will continue the series if you guys really like this video. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss on my content, press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find links to that in the description section. For today's series of anti-Israel versus pro-Israel 2028 candidates, because this is pretty much relevant. That's why I'm doing this. Gavin Newsom, we're going to be using today specifically for the anti-Israel candidate, and then Ron DeSantis will be his opponent. I think this is the perfect matchup to do this for. Ron DeSantis is very pro-Israel. So let's begin with the likely states to start off this video. So Ron DeSantis will likely win Texas by a likely margin of somewhere in between 7 to 8, or maybe even 9 percentage points. A lot of people from California actually moved to Texas, so maybe that can narrow up the margin just a bit in favor of Newsom, but I don't expect that to be, too much of a big factor. Now, the issue of immigration is won't be that big in 2028 as it was in 2024, so it's not going to really, it's not going to bring enthusiasm among the Republican Party, just because there's record low border crossing, so it's not going to be that much of an issue. It's not going to come and save Republicans this time around in some of these Sunbelt states. Now, don't get me wrong, DeSantis is a Sunbelt candidate, so he's definitely going to do better in some of these Sunbelt states like Arizona as well, and not so much in the Rust Belt. Now, you can say the same thing for Gavin Newsom. He's also not a Rust Belt candidate whatsoever, so both of these candidates are actually similar in some of their traits as a candidate. So Texas is not going to be close whatsoever. Trump won it by double digits in the last election. And then Virginia should be likely for Gavin Newsom. Kamala Harris actually overperformed a lot of the polling data in this state. She won by 5 points when polls indicated she'd win within 3 percentage points. So Harris actually surprised me. I think she did well in Virginia. I expect Virginia to trend towards the left, and towards that progressive movement that the Democrats are trying to do, or Newsom is trying to put out there. I think Virginia likes establishment type of candidates. They don't like populists, which is why DeSantis maybe could do well in Virginia as well. But I think if you looked at the 2025 governor results, Abigail Spanberger massively outperformed expectations. It's going to be a very blue state, maybe +7 for Newsom in the year of 2028. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of Democrats coming within their own party actually dislike Gavin Newsom. The only way he gets support is probably his own home state. That's where really he gets most of his support. So he might not even win the primaries, but right now he has no competition because he's likely to run. And right now there's not too many people hinting that they're going to run. So the reason why Newsom is at the top right now currently is because he's facing no competition. He's not the best Democrat. A lot of Democrats actually don't like him. I think we all know that. And then I think New Hampshire should be a likely Democratic state for Newsom or any other generic Democratic candidate in 2028, regardless if they are pro or anti-Israel. I think Newsom specifically can do well among the group of college-educated voters. I think he can win a lot of that. And now moving on to the lean states for both of these candidates, starting off with Ron DeSantis. I think Arizona should be a lean Republican state for DeSantis in this scenario. I think he's going to perform very well in the Sun Belt, like I stated earlier, maybe potentially in Maricopa County. Now, I would like to say, similar to Texas, a lot of people from California moved to Arizona as well, which could help Newsom in his margins. He could potentially come in within 1 point of potentially winning this state, so I won't be shocked if Newsom does do well in Arizona. But because he's facing a candidate like Ron DeSantis, who does well in the Sun Belt, I think DeSantis is the perfect Republican for a state like Arizona, who prefers more of the establishment type of candidates. Ron DeSantis is not a populist whatsoever. He does not come from the same tree as J.D. Vance or Donald Trump at all. And then I believe North Carolina should be lean in this case scenario for Ron DeSantis. I don't think they're going to like a candidate like Gavin Newsom. He's not going to correlate with those voters. I know he was in, I believe, South Carolina like a while back. I don't think it's going to work out for him too well. I believe DeSantis should perform well in some of these deep southern states. I know North Carolina is not one of them, but still, I think DeSantis should perform better than Newsom in this case. And now as for the lean Democratic states for Gavin Newsom, I think Minnesota is definitely one of them. I don't expect this state to shift at all in either direction towards the left or the right. I think it's going to stay steady where it was at in previous elections like 2024. Harris didn't do that bad. I know she did have Tim Walz on the ticket, which may helped with her margin, but I think it should be for Newsom by about 5 percentage points. Now, neither of these candidates are going to perform that well in the Rust Belt. And now moving on to the tilt states. For DeSantis, I think Nevada should be tilt for him. Just like Arizona, Texas, you can make the case that the people moving into some of these states like, Nevada on the western side of the map are generally from California, and that may or may not help Newsom. It actually could hurt him as well. I think it really depends on the state. If you're taking a look at Arizona, I think the people moving from California probably will vote for Newsom. And then same thing with not necessarily with Nevada. It may not be the case. It actually may hurt Newsom. So Arizona and Nevada, I think, are polar opposites of each other. So I think Nevada should go to Ron DeSantis. I think a lot of those voters could reject Gavin Newsom. I mean, these states border each other. So if they don't like what's going on in California, you think they're going to vote for Gavin Newsom? Probably not. So I think DeSantis wins Nevada by 1 to 2 percentage points, slightly less of a margin than Donald Trump, considering the state of the nation should dramatically favor, benefit Democrats in the year of 2028. And then I also do think that Georgia is 50-50. If I had to make a guess right now, I wouldn't settle in on this, but I think maybe DeSantis narrowly pulls this one out. I know Gavin Newsom was just in Georgia. I think he can do decent, not the best. He's not the best candidate, but he can do decent among African-American voters. DeSantis definitely not. But because Florida and Georgia border each other, and DeSantis just has so much support in that area, and Georgia's right next door, I think some of that support can turn over to a state like Georgia, and that's where Ron DeSantis narrowly pulls out the victory. But I can definitely see him losing this state. I think Georgia's going to be a very blue state in the future. But as of right now, I would say DeSantis narrowly pulls out the victory in this state with its 16 electoral votes, especially the Atlanta suburbs, trending towards the left for Democrats. And now moving on to the 3 most important Rust Belt states before we end off this video. And a recent, majority election is passed. If one of them were to go in either direction, the rest will follow. They rarely ever split apart or break away from each other. And with these two candidates going up against each other, I don't think there will be a split. I think they will vote in the same direction as usual. So I think Wisconsin is going to tilt for Gavin Newsom. And then Michigan, I think, is one of those Rust Belt states that actually might prefer Newsom over other Democratic candidates. I know that sounds odd because he's not a Rust Belt candidate, but I think his anti-Israel aspect really pans out with some of those Dearborn, Michigan voters. That's what literally got Trump to win this state in 2024. I don't think that's going to help Republicans at all. It's not like it's going to help Democrats either, but definitely they will reject Ron DeSantis because he's openly pro-Israel. So I think Michigan would be one of the bluer states in this scenario in 2028. And then Pennsylvania should vote to the right of both of those two states like it did in the last election. But still, I don't trust Ron DeSantis as much as I hate to give Gavin Newsom the victory in Pennsylvania. I just don't like Ron DeSantis as a Rust Belt, as a Sun Belt type of candidate going up in the Rust Belt. He's not going to win these states. I just don't see it as much as I don't want to give Gavin Newsom these 3 states. I have to because DeSantis, I just don't trust him at all. And 2028 should be a blue year, so he's definitely not going to win. 270, it's going to be very close, though. 270 for Gavin Newsom, the anti-Israel candidate, going up against Ron DeSantis at 268, the pro-Israel candidate. So in this episode, specifically in this scenario, the anti-Israel candidate does become the narrow victor. It's going to be extremely close. None of these candidates are going to, if they do win, none of them will pass like 280 electoral votes. So this is the map. Let me know what states you agree with or disagree with in the comment section down below and why. One last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss on my content. Press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find links to that in the description section. Thank you everyone